So there we have the sentencing remarks and the sentence itself from the judge there. 4 years and 3 months for the cutting down of the Sycamore Gap tree, minus time already spent in jail. 4 years and 3 months is the sentence. But as the way the sentences work for most cases in the UK, of course, that isn't the guaranteed time spent actually in prison, or indeed the minimum time. The minimum time will be 40% of that. And then they could be spending the rest of that time out on licence, so out and about in the community. And we heard from the judge the reasoning behind the sentencing, a mixture of aggravating factors, mitigating factors, all put forward to the judge, all considered by the judge, and effectively coming down on the side of those aggravating factors. The fact that this was a protected monument, this was a significant social impact of the offenders, of the offences and the actions of the offenders on what they did. That 150-year-old Sycamore Gap tree, also known as the Robin Hood tree, cut down in 2023. They were found guilty of criminal damage, two counts of criminal damage, one to the wall, one to the tree. They got sentenced for damaging the tree as well, but that will run concurrently. So basically they'll serve that time at the same time that they are serving the 4 years and 3 months for cutting down the tree. It won't be added on top. It will be served at the same time. So the total sentence, 4 years and 3 months, and the minimum that they will serve in actual prison for that is 40% of that time. Danny Savage, who we were chatting to as we were waiting for the judge to come into court and sit down, is with us again, as you can see, and was listening across that. Danny, what stood out to you?
Yeah, Lewis, having followed this case all the way through from when the tree was chopped down back in September 23 to the arrest of these two men and their trial, I thought what stood out this afternoon was that we finally have got the lowdown, if you like, on who did what that night. It'd always been pretty ambiguous up to this point. Two of them were responsible for chopping the tree down, the jury decided. But during the trial, the prosecution didn't actually sort of say who did what action on the night. But the judge was very clear today, because both of these convicted men have been talking to their probation officers since their conviction, and a clearer picture of what happened up at Hadrian's Wall on that night in September 2023 has emerged. It was Carruthers who marked up the trunk and chopped down the tree in a matter of about 3 or 4 minutes. And it was Graham who recorded it on his mobile phone, who assisted and encouraged and drove them both to and from the scene. So we now know who was responsible for exactly what action on the night. It was a conspiracy, if you like, hatched between them, with a lot of planning involved to go and do the act, but we know who did what. So Carruthers chopped down the tree and Graham filmed it on his phone, and we saw that mobile phone footage during the trial, the one that was sort of enhanced from his mobile phone. When it was taken off his phone at the time, it was just the sound of a chainsaw in darkness. Police experts got hold of it, took out some of the noise, if you like, from the pictures. Looked grainy, but you could see the outline of the tree and then it falling over. So I think the thing that stood out most, Lewis, is the clarity on who did what that night. The sentencing, 4 years and 3 months, right at the top end of the scale of what the judge could have done for that. She was advised earlier in the day the minimum and maximum for this sort of offence, 4 years and 3 months. She went to the maximum and slightly beyond as well, because of the aggravating circumstances in this act, the planning, and exactly what they did, and the fact that it meant so much to so many people. This landmark, iconic tree stood some miles away from here in Newcastle, up on Hadrian's Wall. Many people made a special journey to see it. So, at last, if you like, closure in this case. The two men sentenced, and we know exactly what they did that night.
Danny, I don't want to pick up with anything to vaguely contradict you, because you are wonderful and know everything. But this idea of closure depends a little bit on motive. So many people have said to me, since the time that it happened, that they just can't understand why this would happen. And I've just got one line from the judge here in sentencing, which was interesting, saying that she can't be sure of motive, but, quote, bravado and thrill-seeking were certainly a part of it. What do you make of that in terms of closure, in terms of giving people a satisfactory explanation about just why they drove up there and did what they did?
Drunken bravado was what they did, really, I think, Lewis. You're right. When I say closure, I mean closure of the legal case, if you like, that these men are now going to go for prison for this. Closure emotionally, though, for the people who had attachment to that tree and to that landmark, well, that may never come, of course, because what stood there for well over 100 years is now a stump with a few shoots coming out of it. And people go, oh, you know, it's sprouting a new growth and that kind of thing. But does that make up in any way for the fantastic unique tree that was there all those years ago? No, it doesn't. And so, you know, for years people will walk past that spot and go, oh, this is the spot where that tree stood. This is the stump with its growth coming out of it. Oh, and what did those two people do it for? We don't know. And what did they get? 4 years in prison. So for their kind of motive, we still didn't really get a clear motive from what they were doing. I think you're right when you were saying there from my notes, which sadly are getting a bit rain-soaked here, Lewis, that sheer bravado was a major factor. You revelled in the subsequent media coverage, is what the judge said to the two men just before she sentenced them today. And it was notoriety. They took a film of it. I mean, you know, it's such a thing, isn't it, of the 21st century? Everything you do, you take a picture of or a video of, and that's exactly what these two men did on the night. They took a video of it, and when those pictures started emerging in the media and worldwide after a few hours from up on the wall the following morning, as people discovered what had happened and sort of the word got out,
okay,
they were loving it. They thought it was great. And then something probably went on
Daddy,
in
I'm
their
afraid I'm
minds
going to have to just
say,
jump in. I'm afraid we're just running out of time. I'll be back with you in just a moment.